what we're going to do today is we're going to start naming processes, and we're going to do this over the next 4 weeks. We're going to be picking a specific key function, and we're going to be focusing on naming the processes in that key function. So the goal of naming is to try to get an idea of the size of the project ahead of you. I also want to create a blueprint of your business in terms of its processes, because we just created a blueprint of your business in terms of its positions. Now I want to create a blueprint of your business in terms of all of its processes. Why do I want to do this? When people are systematizing their business, there's a tendency to want to write either the most important process, which is usually not the most important process to write, because like Kirk owns his company, for example, and he might say something like, I got to write my processes because they're the most important processes. But Kirk's not going anywhere. So he doesn't need to delegate those processes to anybody. They're his processes. So I generally recommend that it's not the most important process to get written. It's going to be something else. And we'll be identifying what those are. So there's a tendency when people are trying to systematize their business, there's a tendency to either write the most important processes or the thing they're thinking about right now, or the process that's giving them the most issues, which is often the thing that they're thinking about right now. And what you end up is you start getting into this firefighting mode, and you're just, there's no plan. There's just writing the process and writing the process. And it ends up feeling like it's never going to get done. It's this endless array of things, and you're never using anything because you're on one process and then you're going to another process and then you're going to another process. It's this, it's firefighting mode. So what I want to do is I want to create a plan for you. So what we're going to do is we're going to start naming processes. The other thing is you might find that you have over 100 processes in your process list. Your blueprint of your business processes might be 100, 200, 500 processes, which is completely overwhelming. But imagine if your company only had 10 processes. That's manageable. You could easily be able to get those processes written, and it's not overwhelming. In fact, it's really satisfying because bingo, you can get those knocked out in a week or a month or a quarter. You could give an hour a process and in 10 weeks have your everything done. So what we're going to do once we've got all of the processes identified, once we've got this blueprint of all of your processes, we're going to talk about prioritizing. And that's going to be in later on. I think that's week 7 or 8 or something like that. So what do I mean by naming processes? The name of a process should only be 2 to 3 words. And a process includes a name and an objective. So let me show you something that typically happens. This is a typical job description. This is an internal job description for a call center manager. So this isn't a bad job description. This is in this company that it's a company for HVAC and electrical contractors and plumbing contractors. They have what we call external job descriptions and internal job descriptions, and I will speak about that in week 8 or something like that. We'll come back to that. But this is a pretty good job description for an internal job description. So these are the responsibilities that I want someone to do. But this is not really a process. This is an objective. Generate an inbound and outbound call schedule to boost sales. The process would be generate a call schedule. Generate a call schedule. That's 4 words. So if this is what I want my call center manager to do, I would come in here and I would go to one of my key processes, and I would say create a process, and I would call the process generate a call schedule, and I would stick it in, now let's put it in sales or wherever we want to put it. And then in the objective, which is right here, This is where I would put that sentence. And now the process includes a process name and an objective. The objective is a sentence or two that describes what is this process. The reason for an objective is there are situations where you're going to create a process name and you are not going to remember what that process was. Generate a call schedule. What was that? Oh, it's about creating an inbound and outbound call schedule to increase our sales. The other thing is that when I put this on a specific box on my org chart, like my manager of marketing and sales, for example, and now I actually look at the job description for the manager of marketing and sales, I'm building a job description which has the process name and the objective. So when I'm training this person, they really understand what it is that they're needing to do. Now, by the way, the other thing I wanted to say is note that I did not explain how to generate a call schedule. All I'm doing is naming the process, and I'm giving it a sentence or two that describes what it is. I am not coming into this process and clicking in this box and saying something like, first, you run a list of all leads we generated for the week. Then we do this. Then we do that. No. We're not doing that here. All we're doing, I don't want anything like that in this. All I want is a sentence or two that describes what is the purpose or what is the objective or a quick definition of what this means, something like that. Okay, so what I'd like everybody to do, make sure they're at their dashboard in their Touchstone accounts. We're going to start with sales and marketing. So if everybody can go to their dashboard and then click on key functions and click on getting the business. And if you have changed this key function, just note that it's the second one under 4 key functions. Yours might say sales and marketing. So go ahead and click there. When you click there, you'll see that there are probably two. Now, if you've been working in Touchstone for a while, there may be more. Kirk, I think we reactivated your past account, so you might have more categories. Yours might not be blank. I can't remember. These are what we call subcategories. So right now, you'll see that I'm in getting the business, and I have 2 categories of processes. I like to start with getting the business because this is where most business starts. You've got to get the business. You've got to get sales before we can do all the other stuff. So we're going to start this week. Our objective this week is to name all of your processes under getting the business. I'm going to give you each week to begin. I'm going to give you a description of this. You could create one just big list of my sales processes, but I want you to think of it in a slightly different way. First thing I want you to think of, let me just grab a notepad here. What is the step that happens that defines when a prospect, for lack of a better word, becomes a client? So I want you to think about that step. That would be a good thing to write down, because anything that happens to clients doesn't go here. Okay? We're not putting that stuff here. Anything that happens with an existing client, we're really focused on sales. So what is the step that happens that defines when a prospect becomes a client? And if you use terms like, leads and prospects and other things, it's whatever. What is the step that happens just before someone becomes a client? So in my business, for example, we generate leads. Some of these leads take a free month trial. They get 30 days free. I don't consider them a client until they start paying for their subscription. So for me, the step that defines when a prospect becomes a client is the first payment we receive. So even though they're actually a client, and we treat everybody who is in a free month trial, we treat them like clients. they're not really a client until they're here. So all of our processes that we're doing with 3-month trials all go under getting the business. This is a really important step to think about. It's going to help you organize your process. What is the step that happens that defines when a prospect becomes a client? And again, guys, you can't make a wrong decision here. You can't make a wrong, there's no wrong answer. It's whatever it is for you. Because what we want to do is we want to capture anything and everything that happens in your business up to this step. In sales, there are basically 4 things that happen. So I'm going to march you through the art of selling. The first thing that happens isn't really selling at all. It's more strategic in nature. It's what we might call marketing strategy. And in fact, let me just pull this back. And what I'm going to talk about is that sales really equals 1, marketing strategy, 2, which is, and this is sort of like your sales funnel, what we might call advertising or generating leads. 3, you're qualifying those leads and nurturing them, and you're closing them. In eMyth, we never used to like the word closing, but you're basically, this is really what would be sales, but it's basically sales, closing, nurturing towards a conversion, something like that. So you're working them towards that. And then the 4th is what we might call client reconversion or upselling or cross-selling or retention or referral-based marketing. So I'm going to explain what each of these are, and we're going to create subcategories for that so we can start building a process list for you. So what I'd like everybody to do, first of all, let's talk about marketing strategy. So come up here. Right now it probably says marketing in your account. Come up here to subfunctions, and let's hit edit, and let's select marketing, and let's change marketing to marketing strategy. Okay, and click save. And now you'll see that this box no longer says marketing, it says marketing strategy, because what the heck does marketing mean? I mean, what's the difference between sales and marketing? If that's super clear for you, then feel free to use these 2 subfunctions, and that's fine. Or you could just create 1 subfunction and list everything in here. But what I like to do is break it down because I think it really helps. So marketing strategy. Marketing strategy is all about trying to understand who is your ideal client. And if we really go deep here, there are really 3 things that you want to be thinking about. Demographics. You know what demographics are. Those are, you know, they're women between 35 and 45 who drive BMW coupes with blonde hair and blue eyes. I don't know. You know, that would be a demographic profile of somebody's target market. So that's what demographics are. They describe your clients. We're not going to go into these, but this is what happens in marketing strategy. There's demographics. There are geographics. So geographics, like a grocery store, the geographics of a grocery store was within a 15-minute drive. Generally speaking, people do not drive more than 15 minutes to go to a grocery store, unless it's a destination grocery store. If you're a contractor, something like that, chances are you're not going to drive more than an hour, 2 hours to get to a job site because it's expensive. It adds a lot, and you're competing with people who are more local. Our demographics, we're international. We sell software, but mostly to places that speak English. We used to do these seminars, these live seminars. And what we found was that if we went to a city like San Francisco, it wasn't nearly as good as a city like Sacramento. And the reason was because these major cities like New York, San Francisco, Chicago, LA, they had really high-end consulting companies that were marketing in those cities, and they left cities like Sacramento alone. So we would get really good quality leads from Sacramento, but we would not get good quality leads from San Francisco. So that's another characteristic that might be a geographic characteristic. And then finally, there's demographics, geographics. Finally, there's psychographics. And psychographics, well, the best way I explain this, if anybody knows football, and Becky, you might not know American football, but almost everybody else on the call will know this. Could people tell me the difference between an Oakland Raiders fan and a San Francisco 49ers fan? Probably most San Francisco 49ers fans drive BMWs and Teslas, and Oakland Raiders fans probably drive pickups. Now that is probably a gross generalization, but it's sort of true. So psychographics are how people think, how they behave. The reason that you do demographics, geographics, and psychographics is so that you can create a message that appeals to your target market and such that you can put it out into the channel where people, your target market, are going to see it. And I'll give you one example of this. I was in a doctor's office and there was a Time magazine, and I picked up the Time magazine. On the back of the Time magazine, there was an ad for a Ford F-150 pickup. And it was this big guy getting out of a pickup truck, and his hair was all over the place, and he had a huge beard, and there was muck and mud all over the place. And the headline at the bottom of the ad was, "We eat chainsaws for lunch." And I looked at that and just went, ugh, I just went, ugh. Well, I don't want a pickup. I just bought a Tesla. So like, Ford doesn't want me being attracted to their ad. They want the construction guys who go, cool, eat chainsaws for lunch. I could do that. That's who they want calling. They want to repel the guys that want a BMW or a Volkswagen Jetta or a Tesla. They want to repel those guys. It's not worth their while talking to these people. They want the target market. So that's what happens in market strategy. You're trying to determine an understanding of your of the message that you want to put out there, because you want to put out a message that attracts your target market, and you want to try to figure out where you're going to put it. What's your channel? So that's marketing strategy. Lead generation. Let's go up here. Subfunctions, create. And let's create a new subfunction for lead conversion or lead generation. We could call this advertising. Maybe generating leads. Click save. And I'm going to order these just in terms of a sales funnel. So everybody knows what advertising is. The purpose of advertising is to generate qualified leads, and a lot of them, so that you can close them in sales. Some people might like the word sales. I'm going to actually change the word sales. I'm going to edit the word sales to I'm going to call it sales and nurturing. Nurturing leads to conversion. Okay, so that's basically, this is the whole lot of processes. I've got processes for generating leads, and I've got processes. I'm going to delete this process, by the way, because it's in the way. And then finally, one last subfunction I'm going to call, it's really client reconversion. So I'm going to call it client reconversion, maybe referrals, retention, loyalty, any processes that we have to upsell, cross-sell, something like that. Okay, so now I've got 4 categories of processes. Let me say one thing about sales and nurturing leads to conversion. There's a guy I studied for a while. His name was Chet Holmes, and he was an alliance of ours with Tony Robbins, and he told a story of how he was speaking. I mean, this guy had done a lot of research. 20 years of sales research. He was a pretty remarkable sales guy. He wrote a book called The Ultimate Sales Machine, which is a pretty interesting book with a lot of good sales processes in it. In that book, he actually tells a story of speaking in front of 1,200 CEOs. And he basically said to these CEOs, at any given time, only about 1 to 3% of the people you're reaching are ready to buy. 1 to 3%. So he said, let me give you an example. He's speaking in front of 1,200 CEOs. He said, how many of you are in the market for a new car right now? And about 30 people raised their hands. And he said, great, that's interesting. Put your hands down. Now, how many of you are looking for new tires for their cars? And about 20 or 30 people raised their hands. He said, that's interesting. Great. Put your hands down. How many of you out there are looking for new furniture? And about 20 or 30 people raised their hands. Every single time, somewhere between 1 and 3% of the people in the room raised their hands, no matter what he asked. So these are the people that are ready to buy. The biggest mistake you can make is to let your salespeople focus only on those people. I mean, obviously you want to do those deals as quickly as possible. That is the low-hanging fruit. But there's more to it, to the sales process. And what often happens is salespeople give up there. They make a couple of calls and they drop out. So 1 to 3% are ready to buy. Another 6 to 7% are sort of open to the concept of buying. These are people who may be dissatisfied with their current provider, or they've maybe been reading something about it, maybe something that piques their interest. Maybe they've seen an ad on TV. It's not like they've never thought about it before, but they're not necessarily buying right now. In fact, these are people that need to be basically talked into buying. They're not yet in the market, but they will be. So you want to nurture these leads. So that's usually less than 10%. 1 to 3% are ready to buy. 6 to 7% are open to the concept of buying. 90% fall into to 3 other equal categories, which I'm not going to go into. But they also need to be nurtured, some of them. So this is a really, really important set of processes. And this client reconversion, also a really important set of processes. The cost of retaining a client is so much less than the cost of getting a new client. And the impact of an upset client is many, many times greater than the impact of a happy client. Someone giving you a negative review is so much more devastating than someone saying how great you are. People only listen to, that's why all the news we hear is negative news. We hardly ever hear good news. We only hear negative news. So these 2 areas are so important. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to pick someone. Maybe Alon, would you be up for this? Can I?
You can, but I'm not sure if I'm the best candidate. But okay.
Well, let's see. I'm not really going to focus on marketing strategy today because that takes more information. There actually is a process up here in the library. If you go to the general process library, there are some processes here. I think defining your target market. Some of these might be, you might grab these. Actually, why don't you do this, Alon? So go up to library. Mm-hmm. Select general processes, and everybody can do this. Change your subfunction to if you named it marketing strategy. If you haven't been able to name it, then let's put it under marketing. And let's go through here and let's put a couple of processes in. There is a process called defining your target market. Let's see if that's one. I think there is another one down here called was there one called marketing strategy? Okay, let me just see what's in this one. Okay, yeah, let's just drag that one down into your process, and everyone is welcome to look at this process afterwards. There's a whole conversation on marketing segmentation, and there's a process for helping you describe your ideal customer. There's a sample profile that you can use, but for now, let's just skip over marketing strategy because that's a big process, and we should probably get into that at a later date after this program. Let's go into generating leads. So Alon, what do you do? How do you get business? And this is, everybody can ask this question, and everybody ask themselves this question and write down their answers. So Alon is going to give me his answers, but everybody can answer their own questions. Alon, how do you generate leads?
So in my case, leads are just opportunities. They are not specifically like, buyers, more of sellers, I would say.
Okay.
So in my case, I changed it to, instead of marketing strategy, I said deal purchase strategy.
Okay.
And then deal hunting. And then I kind of stopped here. I need to continue that part. So I would say we're out there in the market between brokers and wholesalers, and don't have a set process for it yet.
Okay, so one of the things I heard that I think is important is deal hunting sounds to me like a process, not a category of processes. So if I'm correct, I would come up here and I would create this. I would say deal hunting. And I would actually put that in probably advertising, generating leads. So that is a process called deal hunting. And then I would select it, and I would write an objective that says mining, I don't know, maybe LinkedIn, classified newspapers, and building starts at City Hall for buyers. I just made that up. I don't know if that makes any sense at all. But see how I'm writing a process that I'm writing an objective that describes what this process is. Okay, then I would come back here. So deal hunting. What else do you do? Do you advertise on the internet?
No.
Okay,
no,
so
but I hear what you say. So you say deal hunting is actually
it's a process.
Yeah. Okay. I thought of a group of like sort of like deal purchase strategy. Trying to look at your list and see if I can figure out how to implement it on my world.
Okay. So yeah. Keep going. What else do you do to get business? How do you get business?
We look at deals that brokers send us.
Okay, so hold on one at a time. So that is like a strategic alliance, isn't it, with brokers?
I don't know if it's that much, because it's not an alliance. It's just it's an open marketplace. Opportunities come my way.
Do the brokers, do you create a relationship with the brokers so that they shoot information your way, or do they put it out in some public domain?
Both. I mean, the relationships usually build as we start buying stuff from them.
Okay. So I would say that is a strategic relationship with brokers. So you want to create a process that nurtures these relationships with your brokers. And so what I would say here in the objective, one of the things I'm doing here, Alon, is I'm sort of taking what you're giving me and I'm making it a little bit generic. so that people are understanding. So strategic partnerships, finding and developing relationships with real estate brokers. You know what? This should be all lowercase. I apologize. So finding and developing relationships with real estate brokers. So we hear first what properties are available, or something like that. So remember, I'm not writing the process here. I'm only writing a description of what this process is. What else do you do to get business? How else do you get business?
On the buying end, it's mainly responding fast enough to opportunities.
Where do the opportunities come from? Where do you find those opportunities?
So mainly from brokers and wholesalers and other relationships and sellers that we right now we're not going directly to sellers. It's usually through some sort of a middleman for the most part, and which you covered in the strategic partnerships, I guess. Okay,
cool, great. What about referrals? Do you get referrals?
Yeah, but again, it's usually a broker that heard about us, that we're good buyers and we buy fast and all that stuff.
Okay. So here's also what I recommend. So what we've done with Alon is I've asked him, and it looks like we're sort of stopped here, which may be all that Alon does for advertising or generating leads. But what I would now do, one of the things I had you download, had you download this process that had the list of processes in it. And so I'm just going to pop this list up so you can see it. Bear with me for a second. Come on, open up. So I'd actually asked everybody to print this out if they did. Where to go? Well, you think I would have a good process for this. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can find this process on my list here. Downloads. Here it is. Okay, so we were just looking at lead generation. So let's go back to here. So referrals, their strategic partner. So do you do any email marketing, Alon?
No.
Any blogging?
Nope.
No sponsored pay-per-click, anything like Google AdWords or Bing or anything like that?
None of that stuff. No, we're not actually sellers. And
okay. Well, it's okay. It doesn't necessarily mean a seller. You know, when you're buying buildings, for example, when you're looking for properties, people who are selling buildings might still be searching for buyers.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's on the to-do list, but it's not something I currently do.
Okay, good. Well, I'm glad you said that, because when you're building out your process list, I would recommend not putting things that you intend to do in the future on this list. So a lot of people come up here and they say, oh, I want this, I want this, I want this one, I want this one, I want this one, I want this one. If you don't do it, I wouldn't put it in here now. This is always available to you. If you put all these things into your Touchstone account now, you're going to clutter it up. So only put what you're doing. And again, this is red, which means that nothing's written. I haven't written this process. I've only named it. The goal here is not to write them. It's just to name them. Okay, so once you get an opportunity, what do you do?
Then we need to act fast on it. We go see it and analyze it fast. And then we either make an offer or make an offer, win the offer, and buy the property.
Okay. So you gave me at least 3 processes there. First one was site visit,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to put that under sales and nurturing. The next one was site analysis, and I'm going to put that under sales and nurturing. And the last one was make an offer.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I would also recommend that after I banged these out really quickly because we're running out of time, but what I would want you to do here, Alon, is go into each one of these and write a sentence or 2 here that describes what is a site visit. Not how to do a site visit, but what is a site visit. Yeah. Okay. So, and then once you've gone through this list, come back to my list here that I gave you and look to see, is there anything here? Like, is there anything that makes sense? The reason that I recommend you go first, you use your head, you think about what it is that you do before you go to my list is it's just going to help you think about your company so much better. So think about what you do. Ask yourself the question, what do we do to get business? And as you come up with ideas, organize them into these 4 different categories, probably only 3 different categories. And then, and you can sort of rough this out on paper if you like, or you can just come up here and for every process, go create a process, name it, save it. Here's another one. Here's another one. When I'm doing this with clients live, normally I would just have Alon just brainstorm, throw anything and everything up. I would say, what do you do to get new business? And he's going to start throwing all sorts of stuff up, and I'm just madly making notes. And then I organize what he gave me into process names and organize them in categories of processes. So this is the assignment for this week, naming your sales processes. Don't worry about these other key functions. We're only focused on sales processes. Again, my recommendation is not to start with my list. Come to this. It's really tempting. Don't go there first. First, think about it. Remember that you want to think about what is the step that happens that defines when a prospect becomes a client. And you want to think about everything that happens in your business that happens before this step, because once they're a client, they're going to go into one of these other process key categories.
But Mike, this is something we do for today's business or for the future business that we diagrammed in the org chart.
Good question. I would start with today's business. If your org chart shows a whole new revenue stream happening,
Mm-hmm.
It's a good question. I'm not sure what the right answer is for that, Alon. You could. There's nothing wrong with identifying those processes. Or you can, and so you might create a sub-function here called the future sales processes, or if like for Kirk, if he's going into a future business for toner, maybe he's got that. So he sort of keeps it away from his current business. Okay, so let's start. Let's questions and answers. So basically, everybody start defining your processes just for the sales, and use my spreadsheet as an assist, but use it to assist your existing processes. And don't just dump all of these processes into your account, because they're always there. All of these processes, by the way, they're all from the library. So everything you see on that spreadsheet of mine under getting the business, it's all here. So you should be able to, like for example, this defining your target market. If I grab this, it should be here. Here it is right here, defining your target market. And in here, we've got your process name and the objective. Okay, questions. And by the way, we're done. So if people need to go, they can, oh shoot, I forgot to press record. Oh shoot. Oh no. Oh well. I just realized I forgot to press
Okay, so
record.
let's start over then. Let's start over.
Okay. Oh my
Where do I
gosh.
get that spreadsheet, Michael?
Spreadsheet is, I sent an email, hold on, the email the other day. It is, where is that? Oh yeah, here it is. So you go to guiding the business and go under a library, general processes, and look for under the P's, process development and implementation. Go ahead and click copy. I would probably put that under management, but it doesn't matter if you put it under, like if you put it under strategy, you can just drag it down under here.
So there's a different bunch of processes under guiding, and it's different than getting and all that kind
Yes, yeah. Each key function has its own set of processes.
So process and development and implementation.
Yep, process development implementation. If you select it, you'll see the
Okay.
work plan right here. And if you click here, it's going to download, I think this is the full list. So when you get the full list, that was Kirk that was asking that question, right?
Right.
Here's guiding, here's getting, here's running, here's doing. So this is the one right here, okay? So this is basically a list of all of the processes that are in the library so that you can sort of look at it when you're creating and you don't have to be jumping all over the place. I just thought it'd be helpful to give you a complete list. So you can put this on your screen, you can print it out. But remember, if you want to add this process, competitive analysis, don't type it in. Just go to your 4 key functions, go to getting the business, and go up here to library, and under the C's, competitive analysis, and drop that into marketing strategy and hit copy.
Okay.
If it's red, it means that it's just a name. We haven't written a process for competitive analysis because sort of hard to write a generic competitive analysis process. So we don't really have a process for that, but this is where you would create your own. There's a great process up here called reputation monitoring. And I think that one is written. That's a great one to put into your marketing strategy. So it's blue. There's some content in this one. Monitoring software setup, reputation management. Yeah, it's a list of reputation monitoring software. Shannon does a great video on this in, I believe, up here in the Resource Center. Any other questions? Hold on, let me see if I've got any questions. Okay. Okay. Dan asked, I did this last night and I can't find where it is saved. Can you tell us how to find saved files? Absolutely. Dan, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, so Dan, let me make you the presenter. You should see share. Can you click share on your screen?
Yeah.
When you were saying you did this last night and can't find where it is saved, are you talking about your mission, purpose, values?
No, I was talking about the minimum, maximum salary per position. That Excel
okay.
spreadsheet.
Okay, good. That's a great question. So the spreadsheet, when you download a spreadsheet, you are now moving outside of Touchstone and you're moving into a site licensed application called Excel. So
That's right. And I didn't know how to bring it into Touchstone. That's right. It's still in Excel.
Okay, so there are two ways that you can do it. If you wanted to keep this confidential from anybody else, let's go to, can you click on running the business or business administration, which you've got as business administration, and click on salary and hourly raise and bonus policy and link it, go up to the top where it says link to job description, select that and link it to president, because I believe you're set up as the president, and make it strategic and say, go ahead and hit link. And now you'll see that this process has been linked to the president. Go ahead and cancel out or hit the X, whatever. Yeah, cancel. Okay, now click on your dashboard and click on president. Under control panel, you'll see president. And click on salary and hourly raise and bonus policies. And click on annual raise calculator. That's the uploaded file right at the bottom. Now click on upload a completed file. Do you remember where you saved that annual raise and calculator? It's probably in downloads. It's probably, click downloads. It's probably in downloads. And if you go up,
Annual raise calculator.
there it is. I see it. Yep. So go ahead and select it.
Yeah, and hit open.
Hit open. And then now click upload.
It says incorrect file type. Only doc, Excel, PPT are accepted.
So click out. It's an Excel file, right?
Yeah.
So you got to go back and yeah, try it again. Try it. There were two there. I did see two.
I see this one.
Yeah, there's one just before that, right? Annual raise calculator 1.
Yeah. I did this other one before. I'll try this one.
Yeah. Is
It's
it
a
Office
little vicious, this diagonal line stuff. Maybe it's not really saved here.
No, you just have to put it under the old version of Excel.
No, it should work still, Kirk. Did you have that problem, Kirk? Because if that is the problem, I got to tell support that. But
no, I didn't try to upload it, but it was asking. It said it only would do XLSs, not the other. Yeah.
Okay, so Dan, what you would do if Kirk might have a point there. I gotta. What version of Excel do you have? Office 365, or do you know, or is it?
I think I got the latest. It's something on the cloud.
Yeah, it's Office 365.
Here.
So go ahead and open that, and I'll have to say something about that. Now go to File, Save. Oh, this one you haven't done. Go to the other one.
Okay.
And yeah, click.
20 hours ago. Yeah, that's probably it.
Okay.
Oh, crap. That's not the one either.
Do File,
All right, just
Open.
walk me through the process. I'll find it
Okay,
later.
so do File, Save As. Open up a file again, an Excel file again. And do File, Save As. So pick one of those, yeah, and go File, Save As. And change the, see where it says Office Excel 97 Workbook file type. Drop that box down and do Excel Workbook XLSX. That's the very top one. Let's just try that.
Okay.
And then hit save.
Where
Okay.
did we save it to? Did you notice?
It's probably in downloads, most likely, because whenever you download a file from the control panel, it's going to save it in your downloads directory. So now let's go to upload file, and
This one, it looks different.
yeah, try that one.
326, 516. Yeah, that's right. Okay, yeah, and it's showing up here.
Click open.
Yeah.
And now click. Now there's something.
Give me an error again.
Yeah, I'm seeing that. There's something goofy happening there.
It could be my Chrome browser. My Chrome browser has not been acting right for a lot of different things.
Okay. Well, I will. I'll let's you and I investigate that after this call, just so. But I'll say so. So essentially, what you would do is you'd click upload completed file, and then when you upload a completed file, so let's just do that. Let's click go ahead and click upload completed file, and just pick like a Word doc. We'll see if there's something goofy with, and click open.
Yeah.
So there's something goofy with Office 365, I think. Try one more time. Let's click a PDF file. Do you have a PDF file there? Yeah, just click any old PDF file.
Oh, that works.
Okay, so see it goes file uploaded, so then click OK, and now click save. Click your save button. And now that is saved. So now let's say you wanted to look at that later on. Go up to your dashboard. It's 2 or 3 days later, and you are logging into Touchstone. Click on President. Click on the process, salary and hourly raise and bonus policy. And it was an uploaded file. And instead of opening up a blank uploaded file, over on the right, see where it says save? You click there. Yeah. And that's where it will be. Now, you didn't go ahead and click on an untitled. And it's going to open up that file for you. You click view file, and it's going to download that file, and then you can open it there. So it's because it's an Excel file or a PDF file. In the save as box on that screen, you could put in the name of that file. Like it might be first version or current version. Like Kurt was asking me, or no. Yeah, no, I don't know who was asking me about, do we put in the current version or the later version? It was Harvey, I think, was asking me about that. So you might have current salaries and future salaries or something like that. And that way you've got multiple versions that you can access. But that's how you find it. It's going to be across from that. Let me just see if there are any other questions. Pay raise, Alon, you figured that out. Okay, good. So where do I get that Excel list? Good. Okay. Any other questions before we wrap up? Okay, so I'm going to take control again. And thank you for sharing, everybody. Really appreciate when people step up like that. And we will see you next week. So this week, work on your sales processes, and next week we're going to start working on management processes. And management and strategy is a little bit easier than sales because we've written a lot of processes. Generally speaking, strategy and management are generic from industry to industry, business to business. It's also an area of business that most entrepreneurs don't really focus on. They don't really know how to manage. They don't have any management processes. They don't even know what a management process is. So this is a great next key function. We'll focus on that next week.